De mare.
Hello, Africa Week 2020 family. We are back. Yes, the closing ceremony happened, but we still have a whole day of what is going on for the rest of Sunday. I'm so glad you came back to join us. Guess who's back with us? Queen Mother Imakhu. She's been with us now since the very first reunion. She did yoga twice this week with us. She knew comedic yoga. You check that out. And now she is here to do something she's never done with us before, and that is to bring her storytelling and her music. Look, please go to her website. She does everything. She's a storyteller, she's a songwriter, she's a poetess, she's an author, she does the yoga, she's a priestess, and now she's going to share some of her beautiful storytelling and music with us, and I'm so excited for it. I'm actually ready to just lay on the floor and just absorb the tunes.
Look, Alexandra, thank you so much for having me back. And it's interesting that I'm ending the week with doing this, because this is actually how I started my career and how I've made my living as a musician and as a vocalist, as a storyteller, as a spoken word artist, poet. This is my life, and this COVID crisis wiped out my performance calendar.
Oh,
as is true for so many of us, and I'm also, come on, don't act up now. I'm also an arts teacher. I teach cultural arts, and I loved the panel discussion you had about bomba, because bomba is one of the things that I teach. I teach bomba drumming and dance to elementary school kids. Well, at least that's what I did last year. Prior to that, I was just teaching drumming, and I introduced bomba. And so they didn't pick up our contract for the after-school program this year. I'm hoping it's not because they figured that I was getting the kids to be a little too revolutionary.
You have to start the revolution somewhere.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And I've always been the kind to somewhat go against the grain. And so, my nickname is the Renegade Wise Woman. And my one-woman show that I've done off and on through the years is the Renegade Voice from the Mythic Mosaic. And it's a collection of my songs and poems and stories. And I've had quite a life. But I also love sharing some of the traditional folk music that comes out of our culture, and to be able to explain to women who are drummers that it's okay. That's another reason why I loved seeing the sisters who play bomba, and then also the other ones the other day who are plena, because many times when a woman picks up a drum, and the drum came from us originally, when a woman picks up a drum, usually it is with intention, with strong intention. And especially in that revolutionary vein. I know for me, it was, I won't say an act of rebellion, but it was an in-your-face kind of a thing. But I also was very much drawn to the drum from when I was a kid. Yes. And Yeah, but my first instruments that I was trained on and played professionally were flute, saxophone, and guitar.
Yes.
And by the time I got around to the drum, then it was a little later, but I was still playing drumming, doing drumming and playing percussion instruments from my youth. But to be able to finally break out and play it professionally with all of my musicianship behind me and with me and all of that has really been the full expression of myself. Well, a fuller expression of myself as a performer, as a musician. And musicianship is what is vitally important when it comes to drumming. A lot of people think that you can just pick up the drum and bang it. You really need to know the history of your instrument. You need to know how to play. You need to know technique. And if you bring respect to not only the culture that you are playing through, but also respect for yourself as a drummer, it brings it to a whole other level of where it should be. And so, one of the things that unfortunately has happened since the 90s has been the drum circle, which has been good on the one hand because it's introduced a lot of people to the drum.
Yes.
On the other hand, it is jacked up drumming. It has, because there have been so many people who have sat down to play, especially the brothers. Yes, I'm going to say it. A lot of the brothers would sit down and play with all of this, what we call testosterone drumming, and harder, louder, faster, and
harder, louder, faster.
Yeah, so it became a thing of showing off instead of it being about community. Women, when we drum in general, there's not only intention in individuality, but also in the community. And so I teach about community drum circles and how to work with each other, how we still do the healing work, because the drum circle was honored as a healing circle, and how we're able to still enjoy musicianship and also having fun, but making sure that we are doing positive work of intention. So today I'm going to be sharing some of my drumming, some of my poetry, some singing, the whole deal. Listen, here's the thing. Before I became a priestess and an ordained minister, my whole focus was I was trying to get to Broadway. I mean, really, theater's my background. The arts are entirely my background. Visual art, most of what you see in here is my artwork. My life is as an artist. And to me, the arts are my ministry, and they still are. But when I came into...
Sorry, that was a sound on my end.
Okay.
I was trying to share your video. It just sounds I'm sorry.
When I came into priesthood, people became almost obsessed with what I brought as a healer and also as a teacher. And I had to keep reminding people, listen, I'm an artist, okay? In fact, I'm an artivist. That's a term that's very popular now that's come into a popular culture over the last 20 years, melding art and activism. And as an activist, I have always used the arts, whether it was through being a playwright, whether it was through my poetry, whether it was through writing columns, to express what I was feeling as a global citizen, and all the things that are wrong with the planet and what we can do to make them right. So anyway, I'm very pleased to be with you here today and to be able to share some of my more artistic side with you.
Yay, take it away. I'm excited. Here we go. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I'm going to be flowing back and forth between this space and over there.
All right. I'm excited.
I'm a water priestess. Therefore, I must first honor the water. The river is flowing, flowing and growing. The river is flowing, down to the sea. Mother, please carry me. Your child I will always be. Oh, mother, 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 carry me down, 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 down to the sea. The very first time I learned how to float, which was only about 4 years ago, I thought of that song because I was terrified of drowning. It's so ironic that I'm a water priestess, but I can't swim. I can doggy paddle a little. But it's very common for many of us who are called to the water to not be able to swim. It's said that a lot of it has to do with ancestral memory and tied into the middle passage, the Ma'afa, tied energetically to our ancestors who were brought here, who were enslaved, and who did not make it over. But still, because of the fact that we are said to be not only people of the water, but also people of the sun, but also people of the water, there is that innate feeling of comfort in the water and being able to make high connections and praying in the water and being able to receive ancestral messages on a deeper level in the water. And in fact, the other show that I am presenting is called The Water Brought Me Here, based on the Igbo people who were brought, and it's said that at Igbo's Landing, when they were brought down south, that they refused to be enslaved. And instead, they walked backwards into the water. And they said, the water spirits brought us here. The water spirits will bring us home. I am a priestess of the Bantu tradition, initiated by Baba Mandaza Kandemwa, who actually is going to be my special guest next week on my temple service that I do on Saturdays at 8 o'clock in the morning. And he will be joining us at 10 o'clock. And will be telling us about what it's like for him in Zimbabwe, where he is, with his work as a peacekeeper, which I was initiated as well. And at this crucial time, why we need to have peace, what it will take for us to achieve global peace. And I can also tell you that for myself, as an activist, I find that it's important to be able to shake things up in order to achieve peace. Sometimes peace means you stay over there and I'll stay over here. But getting through that whole process is one that takes work. And I describe the work that I do in this poem, Renegade Voice from the Mythic Mosaic. I am old head and new jack, swinging on the serious B-star of Sepadet, street minister and priestess, new African hippie juju woman. I am wearing dashikis over denims, mudcloth newsboys caps, sideways cocked over free-flowing locks. The spiritual mother messenger of power has returned. Queen Mother Imakhu Hitap Ma'ati Eyeleya Tunde, strong enough to go against the flow. Product of my ancestors, yet my own trademark. Launching my own publicity campaign. But my propaganda is not about me. It's about the hypnotized community which bought into the everything's cool commercials. See me and know I am your caffeine clarion call, the alarm clock you can't shut off, the sister blowing up your cell, the renegade voice outside your window screaming, get up! Because it ain't just about waking up. It's about being about our business. Knowing that the Mayor Dinkins' so-called beautiful mosaic is a myth. I've been battling life on the real. Carpetbagger landlords, light paychecks when bills are due, clerks checking out my skin tone before checking out my order, arrogant young bloods cryptically fighting on the wrong side and playing into genocide, crossing streets to miss crossfire when I'm just trying to get home. I'm not trying to get fixated on superficial prettiness to lull me back to sleep. The big brother war is on. We ain't won yet. Jump in or get jumped on. But first, you got to see what's coming down on you. The indoor-outdoor industrialized prison complex. Slavery ain't gone nowhere. The boss man's drugs, unjust jailing, and me-ism slowed the roll, but we've got to finish what we started in the 60s and 70s. Just bringing back the fashions ain't getting it. So, I battle, making beats on my djembe, my ankh at the ready, tucked in my backstrap guitar bag, sporting lapa, minister's collar, medicine bag, and tank saying motherland, or a t-shirt emblazoned with the U.S. and a brother's face reminding you we were here first, rejecting poison flesh in my teeth to put meat on my bones, drinking the pure water of my venerated ancestors' river. I am the byproduct of my ancestors, a renegade voice from the mythic mosaic hollering up and down the road for generations to come. Taya Himba, we stand together as a nation. Harambe, pull together. Ashe, we have the power to make it so. Amen. I'm going to switch cameras. See if this will let me do this successfully. Let me turn my phone off just in case. I began writing when I was just a kid. And I found that music and yoga were both my saving grace. As a female drummer, I've had an interesting journey. I found that's funny, I forgot to put my shoes on. I found that most of the people who balked at the fact that I can play are brothers who can't play. The drum is a power instrument. It is one of healing. And the djembe was made popular in this country by a woman named Pearl Primus, who also brought a song called Fanga with her. Now, the person who made it popular was Baba Tunde Olatunji. And he told this whole story whenever he taught this song. Now, he came here, I believe, as a medical student, but when it was discovered that he could play the djembe, that's what became accepted about him. But he opened up African culture back in the 50s in a way that had never happened before. And so he told this story that was associated with Fanga. And Fanga, he said, was a song. Oh, no, it wasn't actually the story wasn't about Fanga. This was about a song called Akiwowo, which I taught my students just 2 years ago, actually. And because I teach drumming to children and to adults. But he told this story about how Akiwowo was this train to heaven. And he told the story that it was, I didn't have my coffee today. He told the story about how it was about his uncle named Akiwowo. When I joined an Ile in Philadelphia, one of our hymns was Akiwowo, and it was about the train to heaven. It was at that point that I realized how much Babatunde Olatunji did to mask and preserve and protect the culture from being corrupted by giving another story, as with Fanga. And so the story that he told Fanga was that there were people in Liberia who saw a strange ship coming toward them. And they were very friendly. And they decided that they wanted to get this song and dance together to welcome these strangers. And so as the ship drew closer, they heard these people singing and dancing, Fanga Lapia, Ashe, Ashe. And they thought it was strange and turned around and went back where they came from. So this is the story that had been perpetuated. And this is the story that I told until I met a man from Liberia. And he was a professor. And then he was listening to me as I was telling him, I said, oh, you must know this story about Fanga. You must know the song. And he said, what song? And I said, you know, and I sang a little, and I said, what, and the story? He said, what story? So I shared with him the story. And he listened patiently. And when I was finished, he said, that's a lie. And I was devastated. He pointed out that all the words that you're saying are West African words. And Liberia is not in West Africa. I never stopped to think about that before. But again, I realized that this is another situation where Babatunde Olutunji was masking the culture in order to preserve it. So here's what I want you all to do. Here's your homework, because I'm always giving homework. The teacher in me ever exists. Look up Pearl Primus, Primus, and you'll find out her story, how she traveled from here and went to Africa and became an expert in African dance and brought those dances back here. She's little spoken of. She was very, very powerful for her time. But let me just share with you about Fanga. There are 3 parts. There's the father part. And then, of course, there's the mother who holds everything together. And then there's the child that talks all the time. Now, the challenge when I'm performing solo is to combine all of these together. And of course, to get everybody on board, some of you probably already know this song, so you'll probably already be ready to sing along with me. Fanga Lapia, and your part is Ashe, Ashe. Fanga Lapia, Ashe, Ashe, which means it is so, but also refers to the crown, the crown chakra. Fanga Lapia, Ashe, Ashe. Fanga Lapia, Ashe, Ashe. Fanga Lapia, Ashe, Ashe. Fanga Lapia, Ashe, Ashe. Okay. And so, by the way, it is a song of welcome, but it is a song of welcoming in the spirit. There is a verse that says, Legba Lapia Ashe Ashe. And Legba in Orisha tradition is who you first greet. Okay. I've been gifted with so many beautiful instruments over the years. And this particular djembe is one of my recent acquisitions. I was gifted with this last year. Shout out to Baba Zaid of People's Organization for Progress, my brother, my comrade, my friend, who, when he was asked by someone, listen, and I have a djembe, who can I give it to? He right away said, Queen Mother Imakhu. And so I thank you. This is my newest djembe. Djembes are, as I was explaining to audiences, because I do school shows too. So the thing is that this one is made entirely of man-made materials. The bottom here is fiberglass. And the top, while it looks like skin, is just paper against plastic. While this one has a wooden body and it has a goat skin head. Now, before wooden djembes were made in the factory, it was typical for a drummer to go and approach a tree that he felt would be willing to give itself up in order to be used to be made into a drum. He would ask the tree for permission. And if he felt that it said yes, then he would use the wood and shape it into a djembe, carving it out. If you look on the inside, you'll see where it's carved. And then you see that there are decorative carvings on the outside here. Some carvings have certain symbols, certain meanings, and then there are also painted symbols on many drums as well. And as far as the goat skin is concerned, there was also thanks given for the skin from the goat. And the idea also was that nothing was wasted. So that you had the goat meat, you had the sinew that could be used for string, and it was the ultimate in conservation that we are so big on promoting today, but it goes all the way back to our indigenous ancestors. And so, two different sounds. This song I wrote. I think it's been 20 years now, and this is called Herokohuti's Awakening. Herokohuti in the African Kemetic tradition is the awakened warrior who is there for his people, who has come into a new level of awareness from his first eye, but also his whole consciousness has changed because he realizes that the battle that he is in is not for him. It's for his people, his family, his ancestors, everyone. my students, when I start teaching, always say, don't your hands hurt? After you play for a long time, then your body learns, hey, we're going to do this on a regular basis, so get used to it so it stops hurting. But just like with any instrument, you have to let it get into your muscle memory. And I talk about the importance of musicianship, as I did when I was talking with our sister Alexandra, because people think you're supposed to just sit and just bang on the drum. No, you're disrespecting the drum if you do that. This is a tongue drum. Now, what's interesting about this is that I found it in a thrift store. Yeah. And it was in the appliance section, with wooden spoons and with cast off toasters. And I guess because people thought that this was something you stuck knives in, it kind of looks like that, but because of the grooves that are in it. But it's a drum. And I bought this thing for $2.91. And I believe I got it for like 50% off on top of that, 25 or 50% off because it was Monday or Thursday. But a lot of times people don't know what they have, or they get something with the ambition of really learning to master it, and it may never come together. So check in your local thrift stores and see if you find some really wonderful instruments. This tongue drum is played with these two mallets. These mallets are made of sticks that have rubber bands at the end as balls. And I love it because this is so very musical. Now you can find these online. So this piece, this went on my second album called Solstice, S-O-U-L. And this is for Bess, who is an ancient Kemetic mature or force of nature, who is much like Eshu Legba. In fact, he predates Eshu Legba. I talk about it in the last book that I wrote, which is Kesudwa Umeni, and I go into a lot of detail about ancient Kemetic civilization and how it applies to us today, and how to be a faith practitioner, because that's what I practice and it's what I teach. But I talk about Bess, and Bess guards the door. He is a warrior. At the time the word dwarf was used, the Kemetic word for dwarf, but he was a little person who was a shapeshifter and a fierce warrior, but also would make children laugh and loved a good party. In fact, it said if you want to give an offering to Bess or Bess Sue, as we know him, then you leave some hard liquor. He is good times, but he is also the war. me share with you an exercise that I do with my young students. Right from the very first lesson that I have with them, so I've been teaching in after school for Ironbound Community Corporation at a school for their after school program, and then most recently, the last several years, also for Sonic Explorations. And uh, you know, how fun you make learning an instrument is entirely up to the teacher. And so I came up with something called the listening game. So it's like a follow the leader. Now wave them in to play what I play. Now I have them repeat it much more, just so it gets in their muscle memories. Because as you're teaching your hands to do something new, your brain is going, what are we doing? Next part. We played that for a while. Then I'll pick up the tempo. And they always say the same thing. We played music. They weren't just banging. No. Now, that's something that some of you might want to try at home. You don't have to have a drum. You can sit there, you can even. I always say the earliest instruments were here, the hands. There is a chant I'd like to share with you that is, because we do a number of different chants in my practice, in our ashram. We are now the Shenu. Shenu means harmonious circle. And it also means the introspective circle. It is always all about who's in your circle. So, I was sharing how I was really trying to avoid becoming a minister. I knew it was my calling, but my preoccupation was in the arts. My church, St. John's Church of Faith and Metaphysical Universal Ministries, which is a seminary that I came out of, they knew me as an artist. They would come and support me when I would perform. I had my own ensemble, a theater ensemble called the Zawadi Collective. Zawadi means gifts in Swahili, and so it was the gift collective, the Zawadi Collective. They would come and support me, and I would perform at the church. I would do liturgical dance, sometimes African dance. Other times it would be lyrical. I would sing, and I have to tell you, my voice is a little shot today because I had to rinse with some peroxide because of a sore in my mouth, and so please forgive me. Um, but they were there, and I would do poetry. You know, they knew me as an artist, and so when two of the elders called me out and said, "We know why you're here. You're supposed to really be a minister." I really balked. I really didn't want anything to do with it, because I was really just trying to get to Broadway and to further my career. But I have to say that this journey has been worthwhile, and it has been check one. That's better. Okay, it's been full. It's been full of ups and downs, of course, but it has given me the wisdom that I have needed to be able to move forward. Now, I have to also say that I've had a lot of people who have come my way who are only interested in the information that I had. They weren't interested in building community. They weren't interested in activism. They weren't interested in any of that stuff. And after about 21 years that I've had a temple, I realized I needed to get rid of the temple. In fact, I had an elder that made me promise, okay, because it's been nothing but people who were just trying to siphon information and energy off of me. And what was Shenu Temple is now Shenu Online Ashram. Why? Because the goal is to have a piece of land where an ashram will be, and also to be able to share art and yoga, which have been my passions. And I have been able to be the most effective as a teacher in both of those. And there are people who come with pure intention, as opposed to people who are just coming to just suck information out of you. And then also, there are a lot of people who are just really not well, who come to try to be your students. And I'm really focused on healing. So, healing through the arts and healing through yoga. And I was starting to say that we have a number of chants that we do. And one of them is Imakhu-Newark, which means give yourself to the One Most High. And do this because you are of the Most High. Take care of yourself because you are of the Most High. And do this in the same manner, day after day after day. Imakhu-Newark, Zayu, Imakhu-Newark, you do wow, me carry payabu. Imakhu-Newark, Zayu, Imakhu-Newark, you do wow, me carry payabu. One more time. Imakhu-Newark, Zayu, Imakhu-Newark, you do wow, me carry payabu. You do wow, me carry payabu. You do wow, me carry payabu. poetry with you. And the song, let's switch back. Get a little more intimate here. Okay. You know, one of the things that I do is, as a poet, I've taken on the challenge of writing songs and poetry in the ancient Kemetic language. There are familiar prayers that people have asked me for translation of. For instance, um, the Lord's Prayer. And also, I did the 23rd Psalm. All that is in, let me pull my book over here. I wasn't going to close my book, but I might as well. There's a new one that's coming out next week. But this is Kesud Waumini, and in it are chants and prayers, and also some of the translations that I've done. There are ancient writings, of course, that go all the way back to ancient Kemet and the sages that came out of Kemet. And writing was considered a blessing. And if you were a wonderful poet, then you were like a rock star. And so beautiful writing was very highly emphasized. And there is a structure in it. It's said that the Necharu, or the gods and goddesses, loved alliteration, cleverness in composing prayers. I kept all of that in mind when I wrote and when I write prayers. So you can find the download of this right now at my website at queenmotherimakhu.com/store, and then also in shenuashram.org. But having come out of the Baptist church, certainly there are chants and songs that I absolutely love and hold a new meaning for me, but still that I love to sing. And this is a more contemporary song, and I did the translation for it, and it's called "How Great Is Our God." Now, this song makes me so happy, and I mean, in general, in hearing it, it made me happy. And being able then to do a translation was a great challenge. And so I want to share it with you. If you don't mind, I have my notes here. This song is by Chris Tomlin. Iyakuenisu Tugen Shepsu Metefentanebu Chami Chesef Enku Imen Geru Yastian Geru Astian Geru Eyapu Necheru Hesiani Eyapu Necheru Ibnebutu Wis Eyapu Necheru Jedith howling how the sheriff Shenu Hadipek Hadipek Definition can way Itepi akutisa Yeri karkarti Yeri karkarti Eyapu Nechenu Hesimni Eyapu Nechenu Inibutu Wiseya Eyapu Nechenu Renunebu Devani Edwanebu Hesini Eyapu Nechenu Reneru Rebudebu Devani Edwanebu Hesini Eyapu Nechenu. How great is our God? Eyapu Nechenu Hesini Eyapu Nechenu Ibnibutu Wiseyapu Eyapu Nechenu Eya Simni Eyapu Nechenu Ibnibutu Wiseya Eyapu Nechenu Eyapu Nechenu Simni Eyapu Nechenu Inibutu Wiseya Eyapu Nechenu. Give thanks. Oh, that song actually gives me so much joy. So much joy. And I've got time for one more song. And I'm going to share with you this favorite of mine that came out of the 70s. I think it was written in 1971 by John Lennon. Power to the People. It's funny, I had a shirt on yesterday that said Power to the People. And I had a lot of people saying, I gotta have that shirt. Let's see. And, I had this all set up. Let's see if this is the right version. I don't think so. Hold on. Wait a minute. By the way, I am doing concerts. And I'm booking them online. When we get past this COVID crisis, I'll tell you, it'll be wonderful because I've missed being in front of audiences.
Feel the difference.
And you know what? Instead of sharing that, let me just share another poem with you. Let me do that. You've got 1 minute. Okay. I'm going to share a poem with you. I wrote this one in tribute to a friend who was a fellow writer on First World News newspaper. It was a black newspaper that came out of Allentown, PA, of all places. And I was living in Phillipsburg, New Jersey at the time. I moved out there in 85. I'm from this area originally. I'm here in Newark, New Jersey, but I'm from the Union County, Essex County area, and moved out to Phillipsburg, New Jersey. And finding a conscious group of people was really difficult. By the 90s, this newspaper started, First World News, and I was one of the columnists on it. And this brother who went by the name Ebo, he and I would be at our editor's house late, and I remember we had a conversation about how he felt strange with still being here because of the fact that he had lost so many comrades. In fact, we had just lost another group of people who were in the struggle, as we call it. I've been an activist for a long time and have learned the importance of doing what you can to affect change in the world. My ancestor, Billy Artis, fought with Nat Turner. I didn't know this until a few years ago. My daughter discovered this when she was doing research on our genealogy. And I said to myself, that explains everything about who I am. And so I've always done work from a very young age to make change. And so as he and I were having conversation about the fact that we're still here, he said that he came to the conclusion that there must be importance in it because he has a story to tell. And he's also known as the jazz griot because on a radio station, WMUH, he still to this day, I think, plays jazz late at night. And so he's a jazz aficionado. I wrote this poem for him. He also vibed on Hero Kahuti, who I talked about before, the righteous warrior. And so I wrote this poem for him from his perspective. When I read it to him, he was so thrilled and moved because he said that it really captured how he felt. I was created in a womb of light, but born into a world of apocalyptic shade. Yet I know daybreak is due. I've seen flashes along the sojourn. I swung into my being with the bebop snap on the hope of Dizzy's horn of plenty and as keyed up as Monk on a good day. Born a black boy, a dubious recruit in an underground battle, the paintbrush and palette became my sword and shield, fending off the gray matter madness as I began to tell the story of promises kept and unkept. I saw the beginning of Martin's reign, blowing on Marcus's embers as my people proudly footed and carpooled to jobs where they were victims of low man on the totem politis. I felt Malcolm fan the flames to put the heat on the man and our hibernating Africana souls. I heard the last poets eulogizing El Hajj Malik Shabazz and give birth to rap back in the Motown 60s, hollering for us not to return to our slumber. Black people, what y'all gonna do? Black people, what y'all gonna do? Confusing Miles' fusion with illusion instead of Gabriel's straight up warning. Angry smoke rolled in the streets when they took Martin down. While the dream seemed threatened, I painted the vision, donning my beret with Huey, Bobby, and the rest of the prowling black incendiary super cats. All power, daybreak is coming. Come on, get your breakfast, children. But the self-sufficiency of the people meant the downfall of the masses. Drugs, COINTELPRO, the righteous 21. I've walked with soul-splinted comrades, banderas wrapped around our shoulders, fingers wrapped around our own skulls, trying to hold two hemispheres and self together, trying to keep lame ducks in a row while innocents walk death row's last mile, wondering why, wondering how, wondering why I'm still here. But I'm still here, waiting for the sun choking my way through fog, smoke, lonely new moon eves, groping but not helpless or unarmed. I ain't sweating the smoke because I know there's the promise of a fire somewhere, so I can make a torch, unpack my palette, and post a picture of the dawn's promise. I keep packing up and booking up because I live for that promise, sometimes wondering why, sometimes wondering how. Dancing to the downbeat, deflecting the beat downs of those trying to say I'm not a man. You can't say what I am because I know who I am. I am a spiritual warrior, rightful heir to the sun. I know Huey fell, but I'm still here. I know we've been through some ragged days, but I've been around long enough to know somebody's got to tell it. Somebody's got to testify. I've gone from colored to Negro to Black to Afro-American to African-American to new being. Yes. I've looked white folks in the face as nigger glided over their teeth. I've exchanged the casual, what's up, brother man, with my homies to have lived to hear gold tooth black and white hip hoppers, what's up, nigga, this and that, and for a gold record. I've seen the beret shift to a backwards baseball cap. That's all right. Better keep that brim handy. But the sun's coming. It's going to wash us all clean. Don't you know we are the people of the sun? And when those rays are washing us all clean, I'll loosen the hold to my paintbrush. I'll rise with new legs and falconite vision and say the prophecy was never a myth. I, the child of Herakahuti, am a spiritual warrior. I have outlived Malcolm, Martin, and Huey. Their cleansing brush fires cleared the path to find the true heart song of our people. And because they were here, I'm still here. It's from our old friend Ebo, who also happened to be a painter. Give thanks and praise. He painted African-centered images in order to give inspiration. And I'm thankful to him for sharing his story with me so I could have put it into that poem, Herakahuti's Resurrection. I have the song Herakahuti's Awakening and this poem has Herakahuti's Resurrection. Why Herakahuti? Because it represents the awakened consciousness. That's you, that's me. Those of us who are working to affect change. I've been in the so-called conscious community for a long time. I've seen a lot of hypocrisy, especially within my own faith, where I've been the only person of my faith at protest rallies. And I'm not saying everybody has to be at protest rallies, but I've usually been the only one there to speak out. For years, I have been the only one who was brave enough to speak out about issues. I have some comrades who are across the country and in the Caribbean. Well, two I can name. One is another Queen Mother in the Caribbean, and another one who is a priest that is out on the West Coast, who have been activists and who are Kemetic. I'm calling out my Kemetic brothers and sisters all across the diaspora. It's time. It's time to speak out. It's time to stop hiding in the temple. It's time to stop the costume parade and acting like putting on the garb makes you awakened. Awakened you are shows by what you bring to the world, your willingness to speak out as our ancestors told us to do in the ancient writings left behind in ancient Kemet, and the courage to make change, to act. And this is also for everyone. I challenge you all. Be brave. Make change. For artists, be mindful of how you use your art. Are you using it to perpetuate things, or are you using it to help wake our people up? I choose to be on the side of the artists who are using it for awakening. I'm Reverend Dr. Queen Mother Imakhu. It's been my pleasure to be with you here today. And please visit my website at queenmotherimakhu.com.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming and sharing. I mean, that was so dynamic. All of the music. I can't remember the name of that box thing that
tummy
you're,
drum.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
all of the, it takes a lot of time to put together, to study that skill. And I really, when you're talking about to play the drums, you really need to be a musician. I
You do.
really, I really feel that because I'm learning to play instrument now. And then I realized like the type of dedication that's needed. And you just showed us a whole bunch of skills and ways you express that you have obviously developed that skill. And I really appreciate your musicianship and your poetessship and your and your vocalistship. It was really beautiful to watch. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. I've been at this since I was at my first paying gig when I was 15 years old. I'm now 60. This has been my
Wow.
life. 45 years as a professional artist. I started
Wow.
studying in 4th grade. So listen, it doesn't hurt to learn how to read music. It is another language, but it is a necessary language, and it gives you a great advantage. Even as a vocalist, I learned how to sight sing, all of that, because as deep as my voice is, actually, I have a high soprano range, and I over the last several years decided to just sing in a nice, comfortable contralto, so it doesn't strain my voice as what happens over the years with a lot of us. You'll notice with a lot of artists that the keys start getting lower and lower. But I'm so glad to hear that you're learning an instrument, and it does affect another part of your brain. It strengthens your memory, and
Yeah.
so I wish you much love on your music journey. What are you learning?
You know, those round UFO looking hang drums?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
yes, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah. It satisfies my desire for percussion as well as the sort of chime, like tone, like chimey tone sound. So it seemed to be a match. So it was really inspiring watching you today.
Oh, great. I'm so
The
glad to hear.
possibilities when you choose to become a musician.
Truly, a lot of practice, a
Yeah.
lot of private.
Practice, just showing up for practice. Oh, yes.
I thank you so much for having me back this year, and
Thank
the
you.
work that you and Dima are doing it's just tremendous, and you've brought together such an amazing roster of talent and dedicated people who are truly affecting change in our community, and so for that I honor you, and I send you much love, much love.
Much love. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for you keep coming back, and I really appreciate you for that. And I look forward to our next collaboration.
Give thanks. Same here. Same here.
Bye.
Bye bye.